let's call this board meeting together, April 18th. Can we have a roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Beckman.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
Verplank.
Here.
Phelps.
Here.
And Pullen.
Here. And who's not here? Stacy and Aaron are absent with permission. Okay, moving on. Oh, we probably ought to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would everybody please turn off their cell phone, and please don't text during the meeting. That's against the Open Meetings Act. Could you have approval of the agenda, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
Motion by Phelps and second by Becker? Oh, Fox. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? Okay, the agenda stands. Can we have approval of the minutes of the March 16th meeting, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Beckman and a second by Phelps to approve the minutes of the March 16th meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public comment. Sherry. Yay.
Do I stand here or just sit here?
Please
Stand here? Hi there. I know most of you. I had approached Greg a year or so ago talking about affordable housing for our first responders. And I'm in the mortgage business, so I kind of know that it's difficult, and especially difficult in this community. But we have a fairly wealthy community here who wants our first responders, I would think, to be close to us. And it's not an affordable area. To hopefully try and allow some of our first responders to actually live in the area, be a part of the fabric of the community, be here sooner when we need them. I've got some ideas, and some of these ideas I'm good at, some of them I am not. So, and I hopefully recognize that. And I still work for full-time, so, I would like to, I've got a proposal, sort of, and I don't know if Greg sent this out. I hope not, because I threw it together really quickly and didn't check my numbers
No, I
or
wanted
anything.
your...
You did send it out?
I did not.
Okay,
No.
okay. One thing I'd like to help with is down payment assistance. It's a struggle. I mean, I don't know what the median housing cost is in this area, but I'm going to guess it's upward of $300,000 for, well, not median, but just for something affordable. And I would seriously doubt that most of our first responders can qualify for that. They just can't make the payments, and they don't have the money for the down payment to make it affordable. So I've got a couple of proposals to put together, one for down payment assistance and the other one for something called a buy down. In my industry, it was typically called a 3-2-1 buy down when rates were high. It would help pay the cost of the payment for 3 years. I'm proposing a cost for probably about 10 years to lower the principal and interest payment so that every time a first responder makes a payment, part of that payment comes from this fund, so it makes it affordable. That's part of the proposal. The other one is to lower the property taxes for first responders. And then I've got ways to pay for this. Now, the thing that I'm good at is making money in Coughlin Park. So I can hopefully, and I've talked to a few people about this who are kind of excited about it, who are willing to help with some of these things and ask what we needed. I can put together an event in Coughlin Park that will hopefully raise $70 grand, depending on what kind of support we have from the community to pay for the stage and the band and so forth, similar to Venetian. The other thing is the property tax exemption that we're talking about. That would be with one of our local politicians, such as Mary, is it Whiteford or Whitford?
Whitford.
Whitford? Okay. And then, you know, another way of getting money out there for every real estate transaction, maybe a little bit of that transaction, the commissions that the brokers receive can go into a fund to continue to support this. Or we could ask for a millage increase, a small one, to sustain this. But there's been so much talk about affordable housing and how to do it. But have you noticed there's only talk? Nothing's really happened. And I'm not faulting anyone. I think it's awesome that they're in those talks. But I would like to actually do something. And I'm pretty confident that even if we do one person a year to get them into this community, I think we can be successful. And I think it'll catch on, and I think some of these other ideas may take a while, but I think we can get there. So those are my thoughts. Everybody going, get her out of here?
No.
No.
I think we need a lot of discussion on it.
I think you probably do.
A lot of discussion on it.
It's a big undertaking, but I think it's really needed, and I really think the support in the community is out there, especially because we have an aging population, myself included. I want you guys to be close to me. I don't want, I mean, I'm glad you're here, but just in case something big happens, or something big happens, I want people to be around. And I think the more people who actually live in the community and are a part of it, it makes a much better situation for the entire community, all three communities. It helps bolster all of our support. So,
Where do most of our responders live? Most of the firemen live?
Great question. I would say probably the dominant ones are out of the area. You know, like I bought my house 28 years ago, and now it wouldn't happen. So I have a couple of testimonies. One of our highest responders is John Meliskowitz. I was just sharing with Sherry. He rents a house on 58th Street. It's maybe 6-7 minutes from here. I think Eric knows he's just one of the highest responders that we have. He just had to buy a house on the north side of Holland. And he could not attend the meeting because he's moving out as we speak. And he says, I have permission to use this situation as a leading reason for the need for affordable housing. His average response time to the station is now 20 minutes, given road and traffic conditions. And then another one, Caleb DeMond, echoes the same thing. He said it's not just for the fire department, it's you can't find an affordable house here at all. So as people get older on the fire department and their kids grow up, you have less of the pool of candidates that we had once before. You know, when Scott was on, and Eric's been here a long time, you know, you could have a roster of 35. Well, we're back to about 30, but some of them live in Layton, some in Bloomingdale,
Really?
and they spend the night here.
Wow.
They spend the night here, and then once every fifth weekend, because they are too far away. Michelle, you're south of South Haven.
Yeah, Casco Township.
Why? Because I believe the average house you'll find is around 420,000.
that's probably true. Now,
Would it make more sense to look at like a duplex situation where you can at least put two families
sure,
in?
that would be
and
awesome.
At least you can
Right.
probably, then you're buying one piece of property and putting two families in.
I agree, we have to start somewhere.
Thinking
We've gotta-
somewhere, yeah.
Because you're gonna eventually run out of people. Eric's retired, David Blatt's retired, you know, some of our highest responders are now gone.
You know, I've been talking about this for a while, and I've been talking with people in the industry, and I can't remember the gentleman's name who's into affordable housing.
Ryan Kilpatrick.
Thank you, and he's a great guy.
Oh.
Yeah, he
But
is.
we've been talking about this, and he had a meeting with everyone at the STA, which I could not attend. You went to it?
And Kyle,
You went to it too?
and John and Cable were there.
Okay. And there are a lot of good ideas out there. I mean, there's land, I guess, where the old airport is. So maybe, like what you're saying, maybe we put up some duplexes. And if we can get, maybe we can get land donated. And another thing I looked into was putting up manufactured, modular homes, modular homes, not manufactured, modular homes in the area. Now, the difference between a manufactured and a modular is significant. A manufactured comes in 2 pieces on a truck. A modular, they build the frames and so forth and haul them in and put them together on site. So it's an actual stick-built home. So there's no difference than a home that's built on site from
It's
scratch.
actually built better because it's built in controlled environment,
Mhm.
whereas when they're building them out in the weather, the guys working out here today framing isn't gonna do the greatest job.
No.
So there's actually
Yep.
proof that those are quality or better.
And it may be cheaper to do that. And if I'm not mistaken, this I haven't checked into, there's a company in Holland who's putting those up, but I've got the information. I went to, one of the local housing places, I can't think of their name right now either, which, especially because we're in front of everyone and nervous. But, they gave me the information for a modular home manufacturer that does these kinds of things. And they were talking about a land trust that you can hold the land in. There are all kinds of ways to do it, but we just have to do it. And it's going to take a lot more than I can give, because I'm not good at rolling back the property taxes. I'm good at, I'll find a mortgage, because this is not a regular mortgage. And you're not going to go to where I work at Fifth Third and get this type of mortgage with all of with the grant from, and this buy down for 10 years. That's really not heard of. So you're going to need to get a little creative there. I can do all of that. The rest of this I have a problem with. We're going to need to come up with how we're going to do this. Will it be in the form of a grant? What happens if the first responder leaves the job? There's got a lot of things have to be decided, and I know that. And I'm probably not the best for some of those things. But I think some of you probably are, and some of the people that I've talked to in the community are very willing to help, and they're pretty accomplished people. I think that from the people that I've talked to, they really want this. And, if we start here, and like I said, even if we take care of one person a year, that's one more than we've got, and, a lot of it we don't need much. And I think we can fundraise outside of an event like Venetian. But I think we need to start doing it. I want first responders close to me. You all hear this?
About your duplex, Sherry.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Well,
And that's the problem,
Isn't it a problem of sustainability? If you do it by fundraising, then you don't have a positive money source that's going to be there every year. And if the government gets involved in housing, then all of a sudden, then there's income levels and all of that. So
I'm not
you
suggesting we go there. I do
So,
wish
yeah,
to
we
know-
have to stay out of the government, but we
Right.
also, government, or loans from banks are not an easy process to go through, and, we have this fundraiser and we have this program, but we're not sure that this program will be funded 10 years from now.
I say we fund one person at a time. And you're right, they come to my bank, they're not getting a loan for this, but
Right.
there are lenders who will do this. All banks have a Community and Reinvestment Act that they've got to deal with, not got to, but that we do
Right.
have.
Mhm.
And we must commit a certain amount to reinvesting in the community every year. And I am pretty sure there are going to be some lenders who will take this on. I'll tell you what, I was shooting fish in a barrel last year. I had my biggest year ever in my business with mortgages. Now, there are 16,000 pre-qual letters in Holland, Michigan of people who want to buy homes and 112 listings. Now the interest rate is 5%. Nobody's refining. Lenders are hungry. They will likely put together a program for this. And if we can make it, and I think I've got a workable type situation if we have the money. And so I believe we do. I won't know that until I make it a point to talk to other lenders who have the capacity and who are in the catbird seat in order to see if this will work, what we need to do. I deal with grants all the time. I deal with MSHDA all the time. It's not what we're talking about. Everybody talks. MSHDA would give some money, but not in our situation. We don't meet the criteria. We want our own situation, and we just want to make it
I
happen.
got a question. You mentioned something about raising the millage. That's a scary proposition, but if we did it, could you specifically go to the community to say, this is what we're gonna raise this for this? Or is it, can you earmark things?
Yeah, for example, Allegan's got a half a point millage and it's strictly for fire apparatus. Allegan's got a millage, there's one other one that has a millage. But yes, you can do that. For example, one of the concepts was do a millage for the fire department that's strictly for an addition that has dormitories on it. And this is what your money's going to, because we don't have the pool of candidates, we need people to be here. That was one alternative we looked at.
Of what you described, that was the notion that caught my fancy, because it would let you put it to the community very clearly.
Yep.
And give a price, which I have to believe would be an individual taxpayer basis pretty modest. I mean,
You would think so.
you could also put on it a sunset, so this is a 5-year deal or a 7-year deal or whatever, this is until health, which is over.
Yep.
And create the pool of money that then, once there's the trouble with, getting money is you need money to get money, and once that's there, but getting there is a challenge.
And that would be really great if we had money to put up duplexes. But we want them to own a home in this community. And that's my opinion, because they become more accountable. Not that they're not already, you know what I'm saying. They become more accountable to the community when they are here full-time and own a piece of it, is my opinion. That's my experience.
Well, I guess I was kind of thinking of like the condos that are usually next to each other,
Sure.
the 2 unit,
Yep.
but they own the condo. But
Zero
the-
lot
but-
line.
But there's one building site.
Yep. Can do that.
Well, I guess then you would have to be in line with, when you're ready to sell this, you have to sell it to another first responder and not,
Those
Or
are all
you could
things
put a
that,
grant
yeah,
on it.
we would need to work out, yeah.
Well, definitely, there's a
That's a
lot of
good idea,
things that
Jim.
would have to be worked out.
Yeah, if you put a grant on it, MSHDA puts, for example, MSHDA will give people typically $7,500 to help buy a home. We're talking about significantly more. But if you give a grant for $30,000, let's just say, and it becomes a second lien on the property, and when that home, they don't have to make payments on it, but when that home sells, then that money goes back into the coffers. So you could do that.
yeah, because you would have to make the homes that you do get sustainable so that they keep moving on through the process.
Yep.
Not to play devil's advocate, but I'm just wondering how a lot of the public out there, well, it's fine with me, to be honest with you, but how they would go with putting a millage on for just a certain group of people. I mean, not even a diverse group. I think we need to discuss that part too.
Well, we're a popular group of people, especially if you've had a first responder call. Because
Yes.
the minute you have a first responder call, then
Well, yeah,
then everybody's,
Everybody likes us.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And,
Until you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you spending all that money for?
Yeah.
yep.
yeah.
When my
You get here
dad
quicker.
died, Rick was there when I walked in the door. So that's what we want. We want people, our people there right away.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
So-
absolutely.
So that's my song and dance.
Thank you,
Thank
Sheriff.
you.
I've got numbers, I've got
Um,
ideas.
Question, as we're discussing this, and you mentioned that you talked to a lot of people in the community,
Mhm.
would there be some way we could find out who these people are, and we could also?
I can tell you a couple of them right now. Today I talked to Bob Fish, who owns Bigby Coffee,
Oh, okay.
and I told him I was coming here tonight, and, you know, what the plans were. He said, and he knows I did Venetian. He told me, he said, you let me know if I can help. He was very open. We just passed in the lobby, and I don't want to ever mix, I don't want to bleed the lines of my personal life and my business life, but he's a resident here too. And he thought it was pretty important.
Good.
Jerry Donovan and Sarah offered all the help I needed. You know, there's a ton of support. If you start talking about it, everyone talks about the affordable housing, and they have meetings. And I'm not knocking them, but nothing ever gets done.
Yeah.
This may be a path to say, hey, and you know what, maybe we start with first responders, and maybe we bleed over into
Teachers.
police officers and
Teachers.
people at City Hall.
Absolutely.
If it works, I mean, because we have to do something. I've kind of researched, am I talking too much?
No,
I've kind
no.
of researched how wealthier communities do this, like in, on the East Coast, the big one, what's the big one? Nantucket and some of those other places.
Hyannisport and all those.
Yeah, they have, and Denver, the ski resorts, they have programs for their first responders. I think it's a popular group, and I think if we can start out, and they can still continue the affordable housing discussions. Let's really do something about it. And like I said, even if we do one person at a time, we'll get it done.
Well, I think someone like Bob Fish wouldn't mind having a family, first responder family, and maybe they have a teenager to work at the Bigby.
Yep,
So, I mean, it is a circle thing
Yep.
going here.
yep.
Yes.
I could see some restaurant owners complaining, well, you're not doing anything for us, we can't get help here either. But,
Who's gonna complain?
I'm just saying restaurant owners.
Oh.
But
Well, nobody
that's a
can-
want, not a need.
Yeah, nobody can get any help.
Right.
You know,
This is a need.
I think the reality is, consider this. If our prediction is correct, as we start losing paid on call, your option is to add on full-time employees. You will be going for a millage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because at one point, we can barely staff what we have now at night.
And wouldn't it be a much better option for the taxpayer to give a grant that will be paid back when that home is sold, or the firefighter or EMT or whatever is no longer in that position? Wouldn't that be better that we can recycle that money?
I think that's a big point, that would be a big plus.
Yeah. So the only thing you can't recycle, or you can figure something else out that I'm not thinking of, is if you have a fund to help make the payments. That money's going to be gone unless you can tack it on to somehow, if there's $30,000 down payment and $30,000 in that buy down fund, maybe you can tack on $60,000 grant, something like that. I don't know. That's
Isn't the
something
down
that-
payment usually that's the most difficult part, isn't it?
Yeah, right now with interest rates high, it's going to be kind of tough to qualify too. Unless we can get the property taxes down, property taxes are killer here.
Really? I never know.
Amen.
Yeah, so, if we can get the property taxes down, I think that's doable too. I don't know what the state
That's-
rules are.
That's,
Yeah,
my
that would be a
instinct
real,
is some sort of sunset break on property taxes would really be an incentive. It's a complex issue, but we have to start somewhere. I agree with you, Sherry. I think that one of the considerations is form of, how many jurisdictions or municipalities say, hey, we want you, Perigo, in our building, we're gonna give you a tax-deferred
Mhm.
incentive. You're running out of first responders.
Yeah.
As people get older and get retired, because it's unaffordable here, completely. So, as we retire and move on, we want Kyle here with a family. We don't want Eric here, you're too old. We want we want younger people, we want the families, for our schools as well.
Amen.
Yes.
Because we've got $20 million facilities, and they're busting them in from, there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to have a sustainable plan. One way to solve many issues is we need some attraction to bring people in here other than a $400,000 home.
Well, I think maybe these modular homes, and maybe people will donate land, maybe we buy the, there are several options. But a modular home, the price of buying a modular home and having it shipped to Saugatuck versus having it shipped to Grand Rapids is about the same. In other words, it's more costly, I think, to build homes here than it is in other areas. I don't know. I think that's a cost savings, and I think we can really be a model for other communities in the state if we can handle the property taxes and we can get these grants together and start doing this. I think that's where the hook is for our politicians, our local politicians, to help us in getting this accomplished. So.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. No other questions?
Well, I'm thinking maybe we should have a special meeting or two to discuss just this.
Okay.
If you want to talk about me when I leave, that's okay.
Don't worry, we won't.
We will anyway.
Thanks, Sherry.
It's all on a recorder, so if you want to
Oh,
see
it
it later.
is? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
I was kind of messing with that.
Well, maybe you turned it off.
See you guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks a lot.
Okay, moving on to accounts payable. I'll take a motion to approve the accounts payable.
Sure.
Make one.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable of $363,790.14. Ouch.
Okay.
On support.
Okay, well, motion by Phelps and support by Beckman. Can have discussion, we probably won't get any answers, but does anybody have any?
Well, obviously, the fire truck is in there.
The,
That's why
the chassis and the cab,
the chassis.
264, about.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do we have a roll call vote, please?
Phelps?
Yes.
Beckman?
Yes.
Beck?
Yes.
Underplink?
Yes.
And Colon.
Yes.
That's
Motion
5-0.
carries. Looking no financial report. Chief, you want to do your comments?
Yes, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Highlights for March, I'll go through these. A record month. We seem to have records a couple of times a year. The highest number of calls ever in the month of March, 78 calls, an increase of 16%. So that's something I'm sure you guys would be interested in. Average response time is under 6 minutes at 5:47. Busiest time of the day continues to be during the day. Overlapping calls down a bit. Most common type of calls are falls. Something as a side note, our community risk reduction and data charting, we are working with our intern in Michelle on identifying what we can do to mitigate risks of falls. So that's something that came out of the data, and Michelle helped out with that. Now our intern Jess and Michelle will work on how can we, well, did you trip on a carpet, was there a disability, da-da-da. So we don't have enough room on our incident reports, so we're going to craft something on trying to record and then pinpoint, do we need handrails? Funding them, okay, out of the fire prevention budget. How about installing them? That's a big deal. Grab bars. But we want to look into that closer because it's the highest type of call we have. So, kind of a footnote.
So are we looking into those frequent flyer? I noticed on the runs that we have a couple of frequent flyers lately.
We have periods of time where we might go 2 months where a person has a high rate of incident response. We had one we've kind of talked about before, and now that's really tapered off. So we have a period in time where no one will do anything about it because people need more care at that time. But we do evaluate what we call frequent flyers, and it depends on the circumstances, you know, alcohol related, if they're capable of living alone. So it's all case by case basis, and our go-to people are typically, you know, the healthcare industry and Alvin County.
Well, the reason I bring that up is I hope that we're paying attention to those people, and if they need more help, we bring it to somebody's attention besides ours. There are agencies in the community that help these people, and if they need help, then I hope we're requesting that help, or at least monitoring them, so that possibly, maybe they can't get it right away, but, you know,
Agreed.
eventually
Agreed.
they'll get the help.
It's something, usually a staff member will say, hey, boy, we're going there all the time, and we're
Right.
going there for things, and this is the problem. And we always try to, what can we do? You have some people that are fiercely independent, that don't want help, and then other situations, there's nobody that will help.
Right.
The families in California, the health departments, we can't help, we can't step in, so. It's a complex issue.
Yeah, there has to be people out there, organization or something out there that can help people.
Yeah, the other thing I
Well,
run
that's
into is the
true.
whole HIPAA thing.
Yeah, that's another thing.
It's
You
not
can't
easy. You
tell
can't
people
just
what
call
to do.
somebody, tell them about an incident.
No.
I can't do that. That's the biggest obstacle.
Yeah, I can see that.
We need to keep the interagency thing moving along so that people
Right.
are getting the help they need.
Agreed.
There's a reason Social Security requires questions after a certain age when you meet with your physician. Include, have you fallen more than twice in the past 6 months?
I don't know if that's a Social Security thing, they asked me that,
think
I'm
that's-
not.
I went to the doctor, they asked
Depends
me,
what weekend it is.
do you remember what time was
Medicare.
it?
Yeah, Medicare, but I'm not on Medicare, they asked
They
me.
give you
those
3
questions.
words at the beginning, and they expect you to remember at the end.
She turns around, I gotta write them on my hand. But
No,
yeah,
but that's true.
Yeah, they've asked me that for as long as I can remember.
And you never want to answer yes.
And I love it when they start out with, are you depressed? Well, I wasn't until I got.
I waited 45 minutes to get into the appointment.
Now I'm kind of.
When I get your bill.
Okay, moving on.
you had to bring that up, Jim.
Sorry.
That pretty much summarizes the highlights of March, so wanted to share that with you. Then, next up is the Department of Fire Prevention, that's in your packet. And unless there are questions on that, I'll just leave you to absorb that. You can clearly see short-term inspections and pre-plan updates. Lots of construction going on. And then, fatal fire statistics, Chris, if you could pull that up. No, I've got that in here, I'm sorry. I forgot we're printing on the back. So, as of April 14th, we've had 46 deaths and 40 fires, a 4% increase. So, that's where we're at. That concludes my comments,
All right,
Marianne.
thanks, Chris. We'll go to unfinished business, 2111.
We reached out to the people in your packet, Ferrara Apparatus, one of the guys that used to work for Saginaw Fire, and built one of the engines down there, Dan Van Olden. Reached out to him, reached out to Alexis Fire via Allied Fire Equipment, spoke with them. And I can share with you that it is trending now, that there are being cost passed on. The way most of them handled it, I'll summarize this, if they had an order, they did not pass on the cost. All of them now are doing that. I spoke with an engineer, he said it's pretty customary, those costs are being passed on. At the time when this occurred, it was pretty much in this infancy of cost increases. So, the board has a decision that they can reach out. I also talked with Spartan. Yes, a payment can be made right to them. They do not recommend it go to Spencer's. Spencer's will not participate. So, equity-wise, could you do a third? You could do half, since Spencer's not gonna do it, or you have an option of not doing anything.
How will that affect Spencer and Spartan's relationship, though, if they just say, you know, we're not gonna pay it?
I think, my guess, my feeling is Spartan's resolved the fact that Spencer's is not going to pay. They're still going to have a large percentage of the market of Spencer's, because Spencer uses a lot of Spartan chassis and cabs. So it's kinda, I need that product, we're gonna sell it to you.
I guess what I worry about is Spencer moving forward, they order a chassis and it might take a little longer than the next guy that did pay up.
Is there an impact? I don't
There
know.
will be somewhere
Yeah.
down the road.
So Spartan is imposing the 500, the amount onto Spencer, and Spencer's trying to impose it on us.
Spencer's just passed it on to us, and I refuse to pay for it
Okay,
until directed by the board.
okay, so we're thinking if we pay whatever we pay, 1/3, all of it.
Right.
We would pay Spartan direct,
Right.
and that would absolve Spencer of owing anything. Unless we did like maybe a third, would Spencer pay a third or not? Do you think not? I'm thinking.
They already
not.
said, Spartan said they won't pay. Spartan spoke for Spencer. Spencer told us they wouldn't pay anything because they've already absorbed a number of costs.
Spencer won't pay no matter what.
And Spartan said they know Spencer's won't pay.
Okay.
That's why I kind of did a little different approach after expanding, and, you know, we were kind of juggling, well, who does the check go to? Because our agreement is with Spencer's. Well, Spartan would like, if you're gonna pay, they would like the money directly. What's to preclude Spencer's from keeping the money? I'm not insinuating, but what's the incentive for Spencer's to give the money to Spartan if we write the check?
Yeah,
I would not do that.
No.
No, no.
And then what we do is we do something that says, that's resolved of any financial obligations. If you give them $1 or...
Or whatever.
I like the motion the way it's written.
Yeah.
Where is it? I saw it, hold on. Oh, here it is.
I think $2,000 is reasonable.
That's reasonable.
And I
Yeah.
think,
I
you
like,
know,
'cause that's a
and
good
Spartan
pay.
and Spencer's relationship is not our problem. And I think we don't need to take on somebody else's problems, we have enough of our own. So I think this is a good faith, and it's more than a third, so,
I just need a motion and a second.
Just my 2 cents worth. I think it is a smart move because I'm a little bit in that industry, and I know Spartan Motors makes about 90% of the chassis out there. So in the future, we need another one. We'd rather be in good graces with them than
Exactly.
Mhm.
just,
Exactly.
even if we don't buy the next truck or whatever from Spencer, at least we're in good standing with Spartan.
right.
Well, we might have a warranty issue with an axle
Mhm.
that they might have to cover. They might be on the fence. We cover this or not. Would this help?
Or drag us along saying, well, we'll get to it whenever, you know.
I think
Here
it's-
we're sitting without a truck.
Knowing this board, I think it exemplifies
Yeah,
what
I think
this
it's a
board
good
stands
faith
for.
thing, it's not paying the whole darn thing, for sure, but, yeah.
I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve paying an additional $2,000 to Spartan Motors as a good faith gesture towards the $5,804 chassis surcharge, and to have payment submitted directly to Spartan and not to Spencer Fire Trucks.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Pullen, and a second by And Scott, is there any discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yep, Bullen,
Yes?
Phelps,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
and Verplank.
Yes.
Thank you.
My only comment on that, I think it looks good that we did our due diligence, not jumped on the first
Right.
thing that came along, and I think we did the right thing.
You did. I have a question, ma'am. Direction of the board. Would you like me to pay this now, or would you like me to wait till July 1st?
Well,
If we have the money, I think.
if our budget says we can do it, I'd say do it now, but if it doesn't, then let them know the way the end.
I have your permission to work that out with Peter?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so.
Okay,
It's the best way to do it.
all right, thanks.
And then let us know what you did next month.
Okay, there's no new business, there's no correspondence, is there any public comment? Fire board comments? Drew?
No?
Scott?
No?
Eric?
And I think Sherry's trying to do the right thing, but
I
it's
think
like
so,
eating
too.
an elephant. You
Oh, I
gotta,
think
you
so.
gotta start with
Gotta
one
start
bite.
somewhere.
And if it never starts, it never ends, so.
I mean, I don't know about
I think we
messing
need
around
to
with
discuss
property
it.
taxes, but,
Pretty good
And
detail.
you're not gonna get property taxes lowered.
no, you're not.
No.
That's not gonna happen.
Not in this world.
Dan?
I have one thought. Chief mentioned to me that the Douglas Easter Parade went off with vehicles at all street access points, blocking vehicles, city trucks, squad cars, whatever, blocking every access, which was in keeping with the recommendation this group made a month ago or 2 months ago, whatever it was. I'm a big believer in rewarding good things and punishing bad, and to reward that, I'd like the board to authorize a letter to the editor that commends Douglas on without getting snarky about it and saying, I'm like these idiots in Saugatuck or anything like that. But just to make the point, because I think the public should know, if they're smart, over time, begin to look for what sorts of protection are in place when I have my entire family on the side of a roadway for a parade. I mean, who's thinking? And Douglas obviously was thinking, Chief Kenton and the people over there. So it's probably a 2 or 3 sentence letter, but I think it bears going on the record.
Sure it does.
And
Yeah.
as those responsible for community, risk reduction, we're in a position to be the arbiters who say this is a good thing. So,
When you spend all that time in meetings and have multiple meetings at your goodwill and come up with a recommendation, you kinda like to see it follow
Right.
through.
right, and commend somebody who does it, because obviously, it takes time to do that. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes people to drive those vehicles, and planning and all the rest of that. And that's as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Saugatuck's already run off one such event with none of that. And have made noises about, we're going to develop our
Own plan.
own plan, but, I'm close enough to that operation to know that, nothing has been done.
Can I handle that? Sure. So when we were talking about this developing plan and making the recommendations of this and that, I talked with Rich, your manager,
Oh, yeah.
Douglas,
Yeah.
who's pretty innovative, progressive, a great listener. And he says, I gotta rethink how we're doing parades. And they only do like 2 parades a year.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, how can I help? He says, I gotta think about what resources I can get to block these intersections. And when we were talking about Saugatuck City, if you know the Stop Me, I made 2 phone calls. I called Dr. Travis of Saugatuck Public Schools and said, has anybody approached you about your buses? At that time, no one had. He said, I only have 5 bus drivers, Greg. I said, I don't need 5 bus drivers, I need 1. I'll show you back and forth. So then I reached out to Rich saying, could you give us 2 or 3 trucks, and then our trucks, and then Douglas to block intersections? And Rich, I said, has anybody talked to you about this yet? And no one had. Then he brought up, boy, I gotta rethink the way we do this in Douglas. He said, I gotta figure out a way to do this. And then I found out they engaged their own DPW and their own police units, and they blocked the intersections, which really, truly is commendable. So it was impressive to see that response, complete change in the way, because it's different now from when we did it 20 years ago. Not that Rich was here, but it was really satisfying to see the change that Douglas has done, and something that exemplifies safety, and they have the resources. It's all resource allocation.
There were the resources for that, definitely.
And Rich brought it to his
Could you and your
board.
staff write the letter?
I'm sorry?
Could you and your staff write a letter to the commercial workers?
Sure.
Should have come
That,
from
or
the
everybody else?
I think it should come from the board.
I do too.
That keeps him off a hot seat.
Yeah, it should come from the board.
Yep.
And we have a fine secretary with fine writing skills, so possibly.
I'll happily give it a shot.
All right.
Oh, from you?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, but I mean, it's not gonna have my name on it, it'll say
No,
SDFC
no, but you're gonna write it. Okay,
Registry
great.
Board.
Right.
Super, super. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Like I
think
say,
that's a
like
good
2 or
idea.
3 sentences at the
Yeah.
most
Better
is
idea
all
than
it
I
takes.
did. Okay.
Exactly.
All right,
The message will be received on both ends.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing that people are looking in, and I think this is, it feels to me like this is amping up again. There's a lot of shootings, there's a lot of mall shootings.
Oh, my God, yes.
I don't know if it's because it's summer or gonna be summer, but it just seems like there's a whole lot more on the news lately than there has been.
And it can happen anywhere.
Mhm.
And, you know, now we have our own shooting in Grand Rapids, which can't be on the news enough. So I'm like, you know, I think it's getting close and it could happen.
If we can prevent it, one thing to happen,
Yeah.
and by doing a couple minor things, then we've done our job.
And I think we need to get a little noisier about the things that the fire department does. Like Greg wrote the active shooter plan for the schools. Nobody did that but Greg. Nobody's taught it but Greg and Chris.
People don't know that the fire department's in charge of all that.
No.
People don't even know the schools have that.
No.
And
Yeah.
I've had kids through that school.
Including the school at this point, because
I
it's been so
wouldn't doubt
long
it.
since they've had a active shooter training.
Oh.
It's been 5 or 6 years, hasn't it, Greg?
There's
And I-
incident action plans for Venetian, 4th of July, and the school.
And I'm like, please do this again. And they all go, well, when we get done remodeling, and I'm like, there's no better time than to do it right now, because now things aren't like they should be. So,
And you can see stuff in the remodeling that's not right.
yeah, so.
Greg, you
Change it before
mentioned
it's
3
built.
things, the Halloween parade is not in that, which is a huge
They,
event.
Halloween parade, and Easter parade, sometimes they have other parades, but basically, essentially Douglas has
Mardi Gras parade.
2 parades. What?
We have Mardi Gras parade sometimes, depending.
Well, you said Venetian.
Oh,
Fourth-
the incident
4th of
action
July.
plans
Yeah.
originated with 4th of July,
Okay.
under the influence of Scott Corbin, Emergency Management Director. Venetian, and then Scott gave me a template for the school, and I finished that. And that's kept in my truck and on the shelf. And so I wrote an incident, I gotta be careful what I say here. I wrote an incident action plan for the special events. The problem is, that can't be made public.
Mhm.
You can't FOIA it.
No,
Really?
no.
Oh,
No, why, you wouldn't want a
Criminals-
person.
The criminals will find out what we're gonna
Well,
do.
that's true.
you can't do it.
No.
And you would know that, true, but you can't, that, so that's why But like, oh, we
I
can't,
see what, yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
throw this, you know, hand the stuff out, and
Yeah.
Dan says, well, I'll write it in a different format. That's how that all happened.
Mhm, mhm.
Is it, they're not getting an incident action plan from me.
Mm-mm.
Right.
And some of them already went out there. That is strictly off limits.
Good.
So,
So that's, we know, oh, this is a sensitive thing, more than it needs to be, this is easy stuff. So when Dan offered, well, I could put that in and not reveal anything, you know? It's like the map I just sent to Douglas, to Saginaw City today. This is confidential. I called them and I put it, you can't just put this in a packet.
No.
No, no, no,
And then you get this, well, everything's up, no, it isn't.
no. Yeah, we all-
I don't have to give you
Yeah,
this stuff at all.
yeah.
But I had to show them what my expectations were for Coughlin Park and why. So I called her directly and gave a map that Chris created for me Friday. Because this is what we've done. And now I don't know who's doing what.
so, is there anything else we want to cover today? Greg, are you happy, Kim?
I'm good. The fireboat, we get weekly updates, they're still building new fireboat. Chris has got, I think he showed some of you.
They're, beginning,
It doesn't look like much.
No.
Doesn't look any
Probably
better
won't.
than that Boston Whaler.
Oh,
did on
the
Sunday.
big fireboat, as you know, is in the water. I had that in a week before the contracts open up, April 15th. Chris Bernardi's in charge of that. He and I brought it down in 4 to 6s, you know, which was not fun.
Ran good?
That boat can go through anything.
That's built for 15 footers.
You listen to the county, you listen to anyone, that's the perfect platform, that boat you have. It's not gonna win any speed races, but it's gonna get you there dry.
Yep.
So, that's what there's the engine. Cab for the engine. So no, everything's,
Moving along. When's the truck supposed to be done?
I don't know, they were,
He did say, I saw him Wednesday last week, and they're gonna have it at FDIC for the big truck display in Indianapolis, which is next weekend. But it won't be done, and then it comes back after that, and they'll probably be around June or July before they actually finish everything, so it functions. So, but it'll look pretty for the show, so.
yeah.
That's important.
we-
Right, don't care if it works, as long as it looks
Oh, it
pretty.
looks good.
But it's, the cab and chassis were so delayed getting to us that, you know, we didn't even know if they'd get to FDIC, which is a big trade show.
Mhm.
Spartan built this box you're looking at. That's a Lazy Susan for Jaws of Life.
Ah,
Nice.
Oh.
stuff hangs on it and turns as you need it.
I spec'd that out.
At least they didn't put the stupid black stripes on the back.
Well, that's all I've got.
All right.
Well, I think
Okay.
maybe on next month's agenda, we should put this housing committee for the housing subject, and maybe set up a committee, or maybe just have a special meeting to, go over it.
The affordable housing?
Yeah, that she was just here talking about.
The township has that committee already, actually. They have an affordable housing committee as part of their planning commission, and that's what, I think Sherry's either the chair or co-chair of it.
Well,
What?
but I meant for this board,
You could.
we have to discuss it.
I don't wanna get too deep in this,
No.
but I said, we need to change zoning. One of the big things, I was, this will just take a minute.
No, it's fine.
So, I had the privilege of being flown into New York on the Residential Code Committee. This is from people all over the world about building codes. And one of the key things was tiny homes and accessory dwelling units, ADUs. Here's what we're to expect. Remember how if I want to have another apartment in my house and a secondary kitchen, you can't do it. Can't have two kitchens in a house. There are many jurisdictions that want to change that. They wanna have in-law apartments. Problem is, you say it's for your mom and dad, and then you rent it out to somebody.
Especially around here.
Yeah.
Right. Then the other thing is, you need a minimum house of 1,000 square feet, I believe it is, to build in township. You need to change that, because the big thing now is tiny homes, where people can get equity, and you might be able to have a tiny home for $180,000 on a smaller lot that's 600 or 700 square feet.
But they may not fit well with our standards, because they've got families.
Do it by zoning. But how many times in Saugatuck is there $1 million house next to you
$250,000 a
and
year.
a $200,000
Yeah.
capped home on the other side of you?
Yeah.
That's pretty commonplace, because people do $800,000 tear downs here. So, this is what's coming coast to coast. ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and tiny homes. And then sleeping lofts, which I personally disapproved. There's a lot of things coming on the horizon, because it's not just Saugatuck with the lack of affordable housing.
Oh, I'm sure.
They got, in Seattle, they got 100,000 people sleeping in tents. They started buying old hotels. They had a couple of fires from the tents. This is affecting, so they want to change zoning, and they want building codes more relaxed. We don't enforce the residential code.
No, but I'm
But
saying.
I was part of the dialogue supporting tiny homes, supporting this. There's a place for it. We have this all over. Right down the street, there's a home, maybe it was $145,000. Block away, it's $800,000.
Oh, yeah.
The mean housing prices in the United States right now is $364. I just saw it on the news
Yeah.
like 2 days ago.
God, I really.
And I think
Crazy.
John Miles, who knows, wasn't it around 300,000, guys?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I wanna say it was 280, so.
God, you got shopping value.
You got a deal.
So you want that, so we can put it on the, roll it over on the agenda next
Yeah, I
time.
think we need to discuss it as a board, since it's our people we're discussing about.
I think there's a risk, though, to getting too far ahead of yourselves.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
there's that organization that worked on it at SCA. When Kyle, John, and Caleb and I went, it was standing room only. There were so many people in there. And it was all a lot of people in earnest going, this is really out of control. And there were even some realtors there.
The master planning process is
Yeah.
just now
Yeah.
ramping up. And at least, I'm not sure about Douglas, but Saugatuck and the township will develop a joint master plan. And Bobby's running this for us, so it's not gonna be same old big plan with no frickin' value to any piece of it. And among the agenda items is zoning for affordable housing, because creating a district, likely in the township, that can embrace and accept affordable housing, then sets it up for a developer to come in and actually do it. But short of those kind of structural changes, where you literally have to change the zoning map, the master plan map, that's where it needs to happen first, to get, in my opinion, to get major change. Not a house here and a house there, but, I mean, there are areas not far from here that are relatively open that could be developed beautifully as planned,
Not
the
necessarily
Myro.
Saugatuck.
Right.
No, contaminated, but
That was
Don't
supposed to
dig.
be all affordable housing under 300,000.
well, I guess going back to that, I think we have a short-term issue with putting people up. I don't know how many people we can put in here.
Oh, yeah.
It got so full, I had to move them out here.
Well, that's what I mean, and, what's his name down here, that motel? Do we need to start looking at different options?
I talked to Brandis, he doesn't want to sell.
Yeah, he's not ready.
I even thought about renting some rooms across the street, but I.
And that would be great in the
Aren't
winter,
those going
but
condo? Aren't they condo-wise in those over there?
Are they?
I think they're selling
They're
them.
doing a lot of work.
I think they're selling them off.
Really?
Anyway, I think so.
Across the way?
Darn. But what's the one across?
What's the shul?
Yeah, the,
Somebody bought that.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Chad Van Horn bought that.
Van Horn's got it.
oh, that's not gonna go over well with us.
What kind of a deal?
Sure they will. Yeah, I
They have
think
to turn a blind eye to some things, but.
it'd be nice if there was some old
There's some property
hotel or
around.
something in the
Well,
area
aren't
where we
they
could make
doing-
into a dormitory.
Aren't they doing something behind the Shell? Affordable
They're-
housing back in there?
They are talking
What are they
about
doing
it.
there?
I heard it's affordable housing.
Apartment
An
complex.
apartment complex.
Is the proposal.
I guess that's affordable
Yeah.
for a while.
Well, it depends.
It's like 235 units or something like that, I think is the tentative
Wow.
proposal.
There's also another big development they're looking at off of Harbor Lake Drive, and that's a lot of mixed use in that it's
Van
condos,
Drat's.
houses, and apartments.
Van Drat's property?
That's proposed. Who?
Van Drat's over on Wiley Road?
Nope,
No.
you know where Harbor's Health Facility back in there?
Yeah.
So Rodriguez has owned that as long as I've been around.
Wasn't
So
that
those
what they
apartments-
talked about for Myro? Mixed housing and,
For Myro?
yeah.
But an apartment
Called
unit,
Dave
Barker.
Dave Barker? Yeah, he's also, was talking about the old Hayworth property,
Mhm.
but that needs, the city's gotta clean it up first, get it all cleaned up and that.
But there's a
They want to do
couple-
affordable housing there.
Dave and his son, I think, own property there, and then the Myro property, they were talking about building hundreds of homes there
Mhm.
Yes,
in an affordable fashion,
It's
as affordable as they
still in
could
the
do.
works, and in the
Yeah.
thought process.
And Development Wilderness Ridge people aren't real happy about it.
Yeah, they're talking about water mains going down there and,
Well, you
Yeah,
know.
the people of Wilderness Ridge don't want it, they can buy the property themselves.
Amen.
but if they build apartment complexes, then the apartments rent for $1,500 a month, just easy.
Yeah, that's.
You can't get an apartment for less than $1,500.
And that's the problem, you know, we say affordable houses, but, you know, the market
Yeah, but who's gonna
controls-
rent a house
The
for
demand controls the market.
so what's a definition of affordable housing?
I was gonna ask Sherry what she thought.
30% of your gross income.
Italian Central Kansas grocery stores are like
So I'd say 15K.
Will be the 14 months, 14.
With utilities and taxes, how do you do it?
And people don't wanna work anymore, so they aren't making anything. They want the
Mass
government-
exodus.
They want the government to pay for it.
Well, it's a start.
Yeah,
Do we adjourn?
something's gotta be done.
We have to adjourn. So, okay, we're gonna adjourn. See you next month.
Thank you.